Long before the fame, the millions of dollars, and the bright Hollywood lights, ChrisTucker was just a skinny kid from Atlanta trying to make people laugh while life around him felt uncertain. Nobody around him could have imagined that one day he would become one of the most famous comedians on earth. Back then, he was simply another boy growing up in a large Christian family, where discipline, faith, and survival mattered more than dreams. ChrisTucker was born in Atlanta, Georgia, into a humble household. Money was not everywhere, luxury did not exist, and life was far from glamorous. But one thing always stood out about him very early in life. His energy. He was loud, funny, restless, always entertaining people. Even during difficult moments, Chris somehow found ways to make others laugh. Family members quickly noticed that he could imitate voices, crack jokes, and completely change the mood of a room within seconds. But behind those jokes was a deeper reason most people never saw. ChrisTucker loved making people laugh because laughter gave people temporary peace. For a few seconds, pain disappeared, stress disappeared, problems disappeared. And without fully realizing it, comedy slowly became his escape too. As a young boy, Chris spent a lot of time watching comedians on television. He admired legends like Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy. Their confidence amazed him. They could walk onto a stage full of strangers and control an entire room using only their personality. Chris wanted that feeling. But dreams like that sounded almost impossible where he came from. Hollywood felt far away from Atlanta. Fame looked like something that only happened to other people. Most kids around him focused on regular jobs and normal survival. But ChrisTucker secretly believed his life would become different someday. That belief stayed inside him even when life became difficult. While growing up, he also carried the strong Christian values his family taught him. Church became part of his life very early. Faith mattered deeply inside his household, and even years later, those values would continue following him through every stage of success and pressure. But at that age, Chris was mostly focused on comedy. In school, he became known for making classmates laugh constantly. Sometimes teachers became frustrated because he joked too much. But even then, he already understood something important about himself. When people laughed at his jokes, he felt accepted. That feeling became powerful. After graduating from high school, ChrisTucker faced the same fear many dreamers face. Stay safe, or risk everything chasing a dream nobody could guarantee. And he chose the risk. Leaving Atlanta behind, Chris moved to Los Angeles hoping comedy would change his life. It was one of the biggest decisions he would ever make. But Hollywood was brutal. Thousands of young comedians were arriving every year, chasing the exact same dream. Most people failed before anybody even learned their names. Some returned home broke, others completely gave up. At first, ChrisTucker struggled too. He performed in small comedy clubs trying desperately to get noticed. Some nights were successful, other nights were painful. The competition was ruthless, and nobody cared about your dreams if you could not entertain an audience immediately. But ChrisTucker had something difficult to ignore. His style felt explosive. The voice, the movements, the expressions, the confidence. He did not sound like anybody else. Slowly, people inside comedy circles started paying attention. Club audiences reacted strongly to his energy, and industry insiders began noticing the young comedian with the loud voice and fearless stage presence. Then came the moment that changed everything. Def Comedy Jam. At the time, Def Comedy Jam was becoming one of the biggest platforms for black comedians in America. For many entertainers, appearing there could completely transform a career overnight. ChrisTucker stepped onto that stage with nervous energy and enormous pressure sitting on his shoulders. One bad performance could destroy momentum instantly, but the moment he started speaking, the audience exploded. People could not stop laughing. His performance felt wild, unpredictable, and completely original. He moved around the stage with incredible energy while delivering jokes in a style nobody expected. Suddenly, the young comedian from Atlanta became one of the hottest new names in comedy. Hollywood noticed immediately. Doors that once felt impossible started opening faster and faster. Soon, ChrisTucker began appearing in movies, and his natural charisma stood out instantly on screen. Even in smaller roles, audiences remembered him. He had that rare kind of energy that pulled attention naturally. Then came Friday. When ChrisTucker starred alongside Ice Cube in the movie, something unbelievable happened. Audiences completely connected with his character Smokey. His lines became legendary almost instantly. Fans repeated them everywhere. People laughed at his scenes over and over again. ChrisTucker was no longer just another comedian trying to survive in Hollywood industry. The success changed his life quickly. He became a star. Money arrived. Attention exploded. Hollywood wanted more of him. And for the first time in his life, ChrisTucker experienced what real fame felt like. But fame can be dangerous when it comes too fast. As his popularity increased, the pressure around him became heavier too. The industry expected him to stay funny constantly. Producers wanted bigger performances. Fans wanted more movies. Everybody expected ChrisTucker to keep climbing higher without slowing down. And then came the movie that pushed him into worldwide superstardom. Rush Hour. When ChrisTucker teamed up with Jackie Chan, the chemistry between both actors shocked audiences everywhere. Their personalities felt completely different, yet somehow perfect together. The movie became a massive success internationally, turning ChrisTucker into one of the most recognizable comedians on earth. Suddenly, the boy from Atlanta, who once dreamed quietly inside a humble home, was now standing among Hollywood's biggest stars. The fame became overwhelming, luxury surrounded him everywhere. Millions of dollars entered his life. His face became known worldwide. At his peak, ChrisTucker reportedly earned amounts of money that seemed impossible to imagine during his childhood. From the outside, it looked like he had achieved the perfect life. But deep inside, something slowly started changing. Because while the world saw success, ChrisTucker was beginning to feel uncomfortable with the life fame was creating around him. And he had no idea that this inner conflict would eventually push him away from Hollywood itself. By the early 2000s, ChrisTucker was no longer just a comedian. He had become a global superstar. Everywhere he went, people recognized him instantly. Fans screamed his name in public. Hollywood executives chased him with giant movie offers. His success looked unbelievable to people who remembered where he came from. The young boy from Atlanta, who once struggled to survive, was now standing at the top of the entertainment industry. But fame has a dangerous side most people never see. The more successful ChrisTucker became, the more pressure entered his life. Hollywood is a place where success can quickly become addictive. Bigger movies lead to bigger expectations. Bigger fame attracts more people, more attention, and more temptation. Suddenly, everybody wanted something from him, more performances, more appearances, more energy, more comedy. People expected ChrisTucker to always be funny, always smiling, and always entertaining. But behind closed doors, the pressure was becoming exhausting. At the same time, Hollywood's lifestyle started making him uncomfortable. The parties, the non-stop attention, the environment around fame. Deep inside, ChrisTucker still carried the Christian values he grew up with as a child. And over time, and make the shorts connected to the long videos, and slowly he began stepping away from Hollywood. At first, many people thought he was simply taking a break. Others assumed he was becoming too selective with movie roles. But as the years passed and ChrisTucker appeared less frequently on screen, fans became confused. Why would someone disappear at the peak of success? Most celebrities chase fame forever. Most actors desperately try to stay visible. Most entertainers fear becoming forgotten. But ChrisTucker started doing the opposite. He became quieter, more private, more distant from Hollywood. And rumors immediately exploded everywhere. Some people claimed his career was finished. Others believed Hollywood no longer wanted him. Critics questioned his decisions constantly. Fans who grew up watching him could not understand why he suddenly slowed down. But behind the scenes, ChrisTucker was dealing with something deeper than career choices. He was searching for peace. As years passed, Chris became more open about the importance of faith and spirituality in his life. He no longer wanted to participate in certain projects or lifestyles that conflicted with his personal beliefs. That decision changed everything. In Hollywood, walking away from opportunities can be dangerous. The industry moves quickly, and once somebody disappears, new stars immediately replace them. But maybe the truth was much more complicated. Because behind the laughter and success was a man trying not to lose himself completely. At one point, ChrisTucker also faced financial problems that shocked many fans. Reports surfaced claiming he owed large amounts in taxes. For people outside Hollywood, it looked unbelievable. How could somebody who earned millions suddenly face money issues? The situation created even more public criticism, but once again, ChrisTucker stayed relatively quiet instead of fighting constantly for public attention. That silence became part of his personality. ChrisTucker appeared determined not to become another broken Hollywood story. And maybe that decision cost him certain opportunities. Maybe it slowed his career. Maybe it confused fans. But it may have also protected his soul. Over time, people slowly began respecting his choices more. Instead of seeing him as a celebrity who disappeared, many fans started seeing him as somebody who walked away from an unhealthy environment before it completely consumed him. And that perspective changed everything because suddenly, ChrisTucker's story no longer looked like failure. It started looking like survival. But while the world slowly began understanding his decisions, then popularity, over time, he became more vocal about his Christian faith and the importance of protecting his soul from the darker side of fame. He began speaking differently in interviews. The loud Hollywood energy that once surrounded him slowly faded away. Instead of constantly chasing attention, he started focusing more on family, personal growth, and spiritual peace. And honestly, many people respected him even more because of that decision. Hollywood can make people feel trapped. The pressure never ends. Every celebrity is expected to stay relevant forever. Bigger fame creates bigger expectations. One mistake can destroy careers overnight. Many celebrities lose themselves trying to keep the spotlight. But ChrisTucker made a choice very few stars are willing to make. He stepped back, not because he was weak, not because he failed, but because he wanted control over his own life again. That decision shocked many people. Some fans thought Hollywood had blacklisted him. Others believed he secretly struggled behind closed doors. Rumors started spreading online for years, but the truth looked much simpler. ChrisTucker seemed tired of the nonstop pressure fame brings. He wanted peace more than attention. And in today's entertainment world, that is actually rare. As time passed, people started appreciating him differently. Not just as a comedian, not just as the loud and funny star from Rush Hour, but as a man who survived fame without completely losing himself. That became his real legacy. Even younger audiences who never grew up watching his movies still discovered him online through clips, interviews, and old comedy moments. Because sometimes the strongest people are the ones hiding their pain behind smiles. ChrisTucker walked away from the noise of Hollywood and chose something many celebrities never find: peace. This is ChrisTucker. This is his biography.